dealt with the ultimate death sentence. I don't know how we got here, but I can absolutely tell you, I believe that it was deliberate, of course.
Yeah, this is so stupid. I just want to, and you're gonna see conservatives being like, it's not for his birthday, it's for the 250th anniversary. Right. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's a cover. That's a convenient. And the way I know that is, if it wasn't his birthday, but it was the anniversary, it wouldn't be happening. Okay, it's only because it's his birthday that it's happening, and it's going to cost a ton of money. On the graffiti, by the way, of the Hang Fauci, spokesperson for the Army says they have no plans to investigate because they don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
because it's fine. For all we know, the spokesperson scrolled it. I don't know. Maybe Pete Hegseth did. Who's to say? But anyway, to be very clear, obviously I'm not buying this parade. As I alluded to in the intro, the vets aren't either. When you take a look at this poll, when veterans are polled about this parade, 70% oppose it. It's even once you say only Republican veterans, it's 54% oppose, 33% support. So they're a little bit more into it, but only 1 in 3 of them think this is a good idea. So Donald Trump is not doing this for the army or an anniversary. He is overriding their desire to not see this happen because he wants to see the troops. Because if Adolf Hitler got it, if Mussolini got it, why don't I get it? I want to give a big speech and see the aircraft carrier and the rockets go by. That's what I want to see. That's what this is actually about. It's a waste of money. It's obviously intentionally fascistic. That's why it's happening. Any other thoughts before we close things out?
He doesn't care about the troops, or it's going to be hot, sticky. They had to paint all the vehicles, as you mentioned, the incredible expense, just like the National Guard being sent to where you are in Los Angeles. Where are they going to stay? Well, maybe they'll just put them in cages or tents to sleep. I don't know, but he could care less. This is all about Trump.
All about Trump. Well, that is unfortunately all the time we have on the show. Sharon, pleasure to have you here on a Tuesday. Thank you. Everybody out there, I'll be going solo on Big News Wednesday, but don't worry, there's so much news that we'll surely fill it up regardless. So I hope to see you all there. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I'm Sharon Reed, just minding the store a bit for Doc. And thank you, as always, best audience in old TV, for supporting the great TYT Network, independent media. Now more than ever, it's all we got, folks. So we got to do this thing together. And grateful to Doc for giving us this incredible program that really reflects your voice, everyone's voice out there. This first story is one I'll phrase like this. It was only a matter of time. You knew it was coming. Okay, they're bold enough. This is what the alternative facts thing has taken over. It's become a real big deal. The Proud Boys claim they were the victims during J6 riot, because this is what we're doing, America. Look at your life. They're suing for $100 million. This is not a comedy. They're actually doing this. Let's give you the details. The Proud Boys are claiming they were the victims of January 6th. The Proud Boys leaders demanding $100 million in a lawsuit claiming they were the real victims of the deadly J6 attack on the Capitol. I mean, if they say it enough, maybe they think you'll believe it. I won't. Now, 5 Proud Boys, who were part of the more than 1,500 Capitol attackers pardoned on the first day Donald Trump took office for his second term, want their slice of the pie, and they see the possibility of a huge windfall. The group, including former leader Enrique Tarrio, who received a 22-year prison sentence for leading the attack, argues they were victims of corrupt and politically motivated persecution. It's like they ripped that out of a certain president's playbook, right? He's got the blueprint. He's got the plans. He owns them, proprietary. And they just the quote right out of it, okay? Intended to punish Trump's political allies. That's according to AFP. Atlanta Black Star friends filling in the details for us. Now, in the suit filed in federal court in Florida, the plaintiffs arguing they were victims of egregious and systemic abuse of the legal system and the United States Constitution to punish and oppress political allies of President Trump by the FBI and the Biden-era Department of Justice. You see, you play the opposite game. You just say what's going on now is really what was going on then. And then you just confuse people. Okay, just show me the money. Take more money from the American people here. We'll see. They're accusing the agency and the DOJ of a range of charges, including evidence tampering, witness intimidation, violations of attorney-client privilege, and placing spies to report on trial strategy. Suit also compares the prosecution of the J6 crimes to, quote, the modern equivalent of placing one's enemies' heads on a spike outside the town wall. This is a warning to any who think to challenge the status quo. Proud Boy members are requesting a jury trial, $100 million in damages. Let's get to a press conference Friday, Lafayette Park, north side of the White House. Former Proud Boys leader Tarrio announcing the lawsuit. I mean, they talk about proud. This is not just a lawsuit. This is a reckoning. According to a post about the event on X, his attorney claimed the Biden DOJ had mortally wounded the American legal system. Oh, it's wounded, all right. We can talk about who started that, though. It was already kind of limping along when it comes to certain people and the tiers of justice they face. But this is a whole nother animal. Let's give you this reminder. At least 9 people died. They died in connection with the January 6th assault on the Capitol, according to the New York Times. More than 100 police officers were injured. What happened to the law and order party? Rioters attacked after a fiery speech from Donald J. Trump, falsely claiming he had won the 2020 presidential election, urging his followers to take action, marching to the Capitol. Remember, he wanted to greet them. There was the reported fight and testimony about it in front of the Senate committee on January 6th that he was actually fighting with Secret Service members. He wanted to go to the Capitol. He did not want this angry mob disarmed. He said, Mr. President, you can't go. He tried to grab the steering wheel. That's what Cassidy Hutchins, that's what former Trump administration member told us he did. Because this was all part of a plan. Treason. against America. But if you read into the suit, they're saying the opposite is true. And as much as they probably want the money to strengthen their organization, the Proud Boys, which I thought government, the feds were trying to discredit and dismantle this domestic terrorists. That's what they are. But instead, let's figure out a way. And I know the Proud Boys are the ones bringing suit, but I know who's facilitated it. He didn't commute sentences by and large. He forgave everything. Pardon. Didn't happen. You didn't do this. You're not guilty. You're entitled. He said, Donald Trump, let me clear the way for you to get compensation. $100 million suit falls in line with that. This is the Proud Boys, who there's credible evidence, organized, planned, conspired to do something that played out as one of the worst days in American democracy. Okay? This is what they did. And who's going to stop them? Who's going to check them, boo? Apparently not this administration. It's going to enable them. Disgusting. But we'll see where it goes. They want a jury trial. And I think that's interesting. You know, they can't probably go even with a captured judiciary, so many. They can't go with just a judge. Will they find jurors who will decide, you know, it's a lesser standard than a criminal proceeding, which many of them were facing. Can they find enough jurors to say, you know what? Up is down, right is left, everything's discombobulated, and we go with your alternative facts, and here's your money. Maybe they'll give me more. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I say, America, look at your life. We'll move on to this next one. And just look at the flames. You would think, wow, there is really something going on in California. I mean, the pictures aren't good, but context is everything, isn't it? Let's give you the update. Trump's border czar is threatening to now arrest a sitting governor, this time Governor Gavin Newsom. California Governor Newsom is firing back too after Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, threatening to arrest him over immigration unrest. Watch this.
Has been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn, but I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Okay. I don't want to make light of it, but there you have the governor of California, perfect hair, that, you know, stereotypical perfect jawline, looking like perhaps a Hollywood superhero and acting like one. Bring it on. We've had enough of your nonsense, and I'm going to stand with the truth. Paraphrasing, but I think that's what the governor meant. Newsom said Sunday the state will sue the Trump administration over what he called an illegal and provocative deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles. This comes after former ICE director and Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, threatened the arrest of elected officials, including Newsom himself, for allegedly interfering with immigration enforcement operations. Now, we should pause again because there's just no evidence of that. In fact, I watched an interview with Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. She was wrapped up in this too. I just got off the phone with Homan and we had a courteous call. And yet he's inventing these facts or taking the position of if this happens, but kind of indicating it kind of is going on when it's not. They're not interfering. They're not tripping up the National Guard. They're not tripping up Marines who shouldn't be there in the first place and are not allowed. We got to put allowed in quotes these days because who knows what, even if the Constitution says it, Trump will be allowed to get away with here. Now, videos, right? It's not all pretty. Some of it looks very ugly, okay? But let's not pretend that this is everywhere. It probably should be. And I'm not talking about the violence. I'm talking about people taking to the streets. But the videos showed protesters, both peaceful protest and, some chaos in Los Angeles. In return, police used flashbangs, tear gas, non-lethal rounds. I mean, you want to talk about a police force that has the goods and the stockpiles. That's LAPD, okay? And the sheriff out there too. They got enough to handle anyone, okay? We know they have the artillery. if you will. And yeah, we saw masses of people. We did see some cop cars on fire. Again, it ain't all pretty. Democracy never is. And we don't condone these pictures or this violence. That ain't what you want to do because it just plays right into their hands. Doesn't mean they weren't going to make it up anyway. Atlanta Black Star, our friends, reporting during the turmoil, a rubber bullet struck a reporter from Australia, leaving her badly bruised. By Sunday night, authorities had arrested dozens and declared downtown Los Angeles an unlawful assembly zone. She is not the only reporter having been struck by a rubber bullet. And just keep her picture up because I watched the footage of this event, and over her right shoulder, it appeared, we don't know, it probably takes some kind of forensic person to give us the trajectory, but it appeared that there was an aim and a fire. That's all I'm going to say. You find the video and you tell me what you see, but that's what I saw. It's, clearly a reporter. She goes down, she's hurt, it hurts, ridiculous. But hey, sometimes things happen. You just find that video and you tell me what you think. Toby Canham of the New York Post was documenting the protesters and California Highway Patrol officers Sunday evening when an officer turned and fired at him roughly 100 yards away. So, look, if your aim is not that good, I don't know if you should be firing anything at crowds or otherwise, if I'm to believe that this was an accident. I tend to believe certain journalists, okay? And because the pictures don't lie. Yesterday, 700 Marines mobilized to support thousands of National Guard troops President Trump sent to the city of Los Angeles. Support them how? I know Hegseth wants them to be able to have arrest powers. That's not what the Marines are supposed to do. They're not even supposed to touch a weapon. Take up arms against your own people. It's looking more and more like North Korea. I mean, that's what would happen there. There can be no dissent against a dictator or king. Marines are there. There's reports that they don't even have accommodations to sleep because, of course, this was sudden and unnecessary. Governor Gavin Newsom did not ask for this. Mayor Bass did not ask for this because it's not necessary. California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass have criticized the move, over which State Attorney General Rob Bonta has sued the Trump administration, as we said. Last time a president federalized the state National Guard over the objections of its governor was all the way back in 1965. Lyndon Johnson did it, invoking the Insurrection Act to protect civil rights marchers in Alabama. Thank you, President Lyndon Johnson. Alabama, okay? One of those pockets of segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. We know it from history. You don't need the Southern accent. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. It's just such gaslighting, this woman and other members of the administration and their outright propaganda. It's covert narcissism at its best, where you just want to control people, so you just say anything. And it's impossible to answer these people, to interview these people, to do anything. Because like covert narcissists, they just say crazy things. How long have you been a prostitute? What are you talking about? I've never been a prostitute one day. Now I'm answering whether I was a prostitute or not when there's no evidence of this. It's crazy. But that's what mass covert narcissism does. And she is perhaps the poster child of it. She's declared Los Angeles a city of criminals. Watch Kristi in action.
Has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime. And now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals because she has protected them for so many years.
Okay, well, I happen to know some people out there. They're not criminals. They're good people who have a right to freedom of speech. There are people who, some of them were fully awake all along. Others are waking up saying, hold on, but damn it, I'm not going to put up with this. This is not the America that I know. So we're going to speak out, Kristi. But if you speak out, you're a criminal. She said it. CNN national correspondent Jason Carroll narrated his interaction with police in Los Angeles on Monday night. Let's watch Mr. Carroll.
Some of the demonstrators backed up in this corner over here that you see here, Laura. And some of the demonstrators at that point tried to leave. And the LAPD said, no, that time has come and that time has gone. Not only are they not allowing the demonstrators to leave, they're not allowing press to leave either, Laura. We are all boxed in this area together. They are telling everyone here that they are going to be detained for failure to disperse. So.
Now, doesn't that sound dumb? And you could say, well, Sharon, you've never been, law enforcement. Have you trained? Have you gone through the academy? No, but I still call dumb dumber than dumb. Do you want chaos on the streets of Los Angeles? Or do you want to use common sense, right? And I'm not suggesting that this thing was ever out of control. Pockets of it, sure. But overall, no. And so now you're holding people because you want to extend what you are deeming as chaotic. And here we're talking about LAPD. You want to hold people, including the press, because the time has passed. It's just stupid. I need to depend on law enforcement if I'm the mayor or the chief to make wise decisions. Doesn't that sound stupid? But hey, maybe that's what we're doing. And maybe that's why you should not have militarized local police forces, city police forces. And you certainly shouldn't call in the National Guard unless the governor says, you know what, we could use some backup here. I got it. I'm making a formal request. And you really, the Marines are supposedly the ones who are first in, last out, right? The proud, the Marines, like this is the creme de la creme, the fighting machine that America can rely on to hold the line and to protect us by any means necessary, almost. They shouldn't be there. But hey, Constitution, what Constitution? It's only a piece of paper, unless it's enforced, right? It's just a piece of paper. Highest court in the land has been captured. Congress is asleep at the wheel with Mike Johnson, the speaker, saying very strange things and dodging questions from the press like, Speaker Johnson, should Governor Newsom be arrested? Well, I don't want to get into that, but he should be tarred and feathered. What are you talking about? Good Americans are about to lose Medicare. Working Americans, stop the lies. We'll just keep them going. This is Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I'm Sharon Reed, minding the store bit for Doc. Hope you'll stay with us. We'll get to some of your comments coming up too. We're right back.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power. We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If Phil and host beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, you won't believe the meeting that I just had.
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
And they want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
Welcome back to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I am Sharon Reed, just holding down the fort for Doc. Let's get to some of your comments. Very active today, and the stories kind of dictate that. And we appreciate you all. TYT members first. Sentex 1965. Oh, hell yeah. I like Sharon as a presenter. or commentator. Well, that's good. You're stuck with me for now. But I appreciate you all very much because this is a family thing. Leave 18 WHT GRL, Sharon Double Dose. Yeah, I was on a TDR with John earlier. I love everybody here. I wish a Dragon Wood says, Sharon, it's been too long since I got to participate live. Great to see you. Let's go. Thank you, Dragon. I love it when you guys are kind of amped up and weighing in real time. About the Proud Boys and their $100 million suit claiming that they're the real victims from J6. You just no shame. Robert Clark says, but they accepted pardons, which admits your guilt. I'm not a lawyer, but that's a great point. That's an interesting point. I hope that's true. We want history to be recorded properly. Why is that important? Because it can kind of repeat itself when it's not. Okay. You had those wicked Southern daughters of the Confederacy who still have some people believing that there was a noble cause, this thing called the Civil War, and that it wasn't really over slavery, and that slaves had fun. And they sang in the fields, and they were taken great care of. That's what lies do. All these years later, the Southern daughters who set out to rewrite history and did are affecting our lives today. Fly that Confederate flag. So it's the same thing. I want history to be recorded here. The Proud Boys are not the victims. They are the perpetrators, treasonous behavior. The LA protests, that's what it's called, right? You get out there, you use your free speech. You're supposed to still have it in America. And you say, I'm not going to tolerate this. This is not the America I live in and believe in. And then all of a sudden, the National Guard shows up and the governor didn't even tell them to come in. Whatever. Neon Death 07 says LAPD is larger than some other countries' militaries, worth noting. And they've got the capabilities of some countries. Some countries don't have their capabilities, their arsenal. Octo Squiddy says, we saw rubber bullets and pepper balls and flash grenades and batons used against people. I do not care, I believe it is at all, that some empty cop cars and autonomous vehicles were burned. We saw a Waymo car on fire. I care more about people than private property. I'm with you on that. I don't want things burned though. It's just a distraction, it's destruction, and it's not necessary. But I'm with you. Let's not make it more than it is. Tesla, remember that whole thing, doesn't need to be protected. You also don't need to burn the cars. Stop burning the cars, okay? You don't need to burn the cars, okay? But let's not also then make it what it's not, okay? Tesla's just fine. Well, are they, now that Elon's back? Let's take another quick break. Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. We'll be right back.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
Welcome back to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I am Sharon Reed. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. We'll get to more in just a little bit. But now I want to go to Texas, North Texas. I don't know how many of you are part of an HOA. When you're part of an HOA, just so you know, you have very few rights. They really get to dictate. But anyway, a North Texas HOA is being sued over racist harassment of Black residents. Well, what's going on here? I'll tell you. The town is Providence Village, a North Texas homeowners association now faces 2 federal lawsuits alleging that it tried to kick out hundreds of Black residents who rely on government housing vouchers to pay their rent, subjected them to racial harassment and intimidation. The harassment included posts on unofficial social media sites for the town of Providence Village, a suburban neighborhood of a single-family homes north of Dallas, it is. Black residents were called, quote, ghetto, wild animals, lazy, entitled leaching trash, and blamed for crime and other perceived problems. The Blacks. According to a federal lawsuit filed in the Eastern District of Texas in April, one such post included a photo of a Black man with a rope around his neck with the caption, "This one is not coming back tomorrow." Other threatening posts were directed at female voucher tenants, including one that said, "Get your Section 8 asses out of town now, bitches." Explosion emoji. "Don't let the door hit you in your fat ass mouth." I'm just giving it to you raw. Racial hostility on display in such posts ramped up when the Providence Homeowners Association, PHOA, proposed new rules in 2021 to address a perception by its board of directors that the number of rental units in their community was growing and that voucher holding renters were causing an increase in crime that could impact property values. In fact, what was increasing in the Providence HOA community at the time was the number and concentration of Black residents, the lawsuit says. So you just want to kind of talk around it. The lawsuit speaks directly to it. You're talking about Black people and you're blaming them for this perception. The PHOA board members and other homeowners in the town began focusing their concerns on renters using housing vouchers around July 2021 after an altercation at the community basketball court between 2 teenage boys, one Black, one white. Okay, boys fighting on a basketball court. Imagine that. It led to the arrest of the Black teen, who many assume belonged to a voucher family, the lawsuit says. And chatter in the town's social media groups became filled with posts antagonistic to voucher holders, such as one stating, quote, "You ever thought maybe some of us don't want to live amongst ghetto, poverty, crime-ridden mentality people?" The riled up contributors included PHOA board members, including one who wrote this. It's called Section 8. Then added, "Seems like the neighborhood is plagued with convicts. Get out." Well, we know for a fact, I've never visited this community, but there are some bad actors here, and they seem to be posting online, okay? They seem to be savage with their words at least and posting online. Very ugly. In the fall of 2021, the board and some homeowners began working on ways to restrict the ability of homeowners to rent their property to voucher holders, despite being warned by the mayor that fair housing, this is so, listen, you're talking to somebody who loves to rent out to anyone and everyone because that's the law. Okay, any investment property that I stumbled upon, that's just the law. Only a dummy. If you want to restrict rental units versus owner occupied, well, you could do that. But now you're talking about not doing that, but vouchers only. You know, I think it looks better. No, this way. Okay, we see you. We see what's going on with you. It's just, you say the quiet part out loud. If you're going to be crooked in your behaviors and your protocols, at least be a little quieter about it, a little more sneaky. I'm glad they aren't. Don't have the ability to be, maybe. So the mayor said, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. But they did it anyway. The mayor told him fair housing makes it illegal to restrict. Complaint says the board worked with HOA's property manager, Cody Watts, and a First Service Residential on steps they could take to limit voucher holders in their neighborhood. Watson allegedly advised the board that he and First Service also thought such actions would be illegal. Okay, so Cody made a little bit of sense. Still probably wanted to take the money, but I tried to warn them. They said, we're going to do it anyway. Going to do it anyway. Nevertheless, over the next few months, Watson and board together drafted new rental rules that said no rental home could be publicly financed or subsidized, limited owners to one rental property, and required owners to live in the home for 24 months before renting it out. Now, the rules stated that owners could be charged $300 per week for failing to comply with these rules. Let's fast forward to June 8th, 2022. Several residents who opposed the amendment gathered in a park by a lake to discuss the vote. A pro-amendment resident surreptitiously photographed the group, which included children. And another resident posted that photo to social media with the caption, quote, "Here's a great pic depicting the very effing idiots that helped to ruin our lovely town of Providence Village." With the rules enacted, landlords in Providence began telling voucher tenants that they had to move immediately, setting off a wave of panic amongst tenants, leading to frantic searches for alternative housing. The complaint said several families moved out. HOA policy threatened to displace more than 170 families from the majority white neighborhood, the Texas Tribune reported. Then on June 30th, 2022, the board announced that current voucher holders could remain until their leases expired, but not beyond 12 months. But voucher tenants continued to leave Providence Village due to the uncertainty and hostility they faced, the complaint says. A year later, June 18th, 2023, Texas passed a state law barring associations from restricting property owners' choice of tenants based on, the mayor tried to tell you, their source of income, which became effective September 1, 2023. Look, they really didn't have to do that. The law is the law, but Texas, in this case, did the right thing, I guess, strengthened it a bit. But this is federal law you're violating here. In response, the board sent out a letter to residents stating they will continue to fight for you by searching for alternative ways to ensure the integrity of our neighborhood. Is that the right quote, or do they mean to ensure the whiteness of our neighborhood? It sounds like white is right. During the summer and fall of 2023, racial tensions related to voucher holders were stoked by protests led by the National Justice Party, a white nationalist organization, which posted flyers outside Providence Village that said an overwhelming majority of Section 8 recipients are composed of Black Americans who bring unimaginable violence. Board issued a statement that it had no affiliation with this protest and that it does not condone or support any actions by any type of hate group. Okay. But HOA members continued slamming Section 8 riffraff, that's in quotes, on social media. The board kept looking for new ways to limit renters relying on government assistance. Yeah, because only the Blacks rely on government assistance. On this very show, we've given you the real statistics. Not that it should matter, but to some people, it matters. National Justice Party. In May of 2024, the board adopted new rules that rescinded the now unlawful restriction on renting to voucher holders, but retained the limit of one rental property per owner, because most voucher holders in Providence Village rented from a few large landlords. The one rental per owner rule would, in practice, have a similar result as the prior outright ban, the complaint argues. So they got a little more covert with it. Black residents who had already been forced out or were afraid of losing their homes, along with landlords and other residents opposed to the rules, responded by filing a flurry of 53 complaints with HUD, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And in January 2025, HUD issued its determination finding reasonable cause to believe that PHOA and First Service had violated the Federal Fair Housing Act by discriminating because of race and color by making a dwelling unavailable because of a protected characteristic and by failing to take corrective action when Black residents were harassed. HUD said the rules predominantly and disproportionately impacted people who are Black. Nearly all of those targeted by PHOA's efforts are Black. The board and other residents knew that by targeting voucher holders, they would be targeting the town's Black residents, and they acted on this knowledge. HUD noted that the HOA and property manager provided 3 justifications for excluding voucher holders: crime, maintenance, property values. But they provided no comprehensive sources of information to show these to be real problems. Well, show me. The Blacks tearing up the spot? Crime, where are the reports of the crime and how violent is it? We don't want any crime, right? But just where is it? Should be easy enough. Show property values. Well, they go up and down all the time. Got a housing shortage in this country. I doubt they were going down significantly. Federal Housing Agency also found that from the lead up to the rules enactment through its aftermath, residents directed aggressive and threatening posts at voucher holders. It cited one post which said, back in the day when a community didn't like someone, they band together to make said person's life a living hell to the point they left. Well, that still goes on. And another in which a resident threatened they might just leave in a coroner's wagon and kids will get shot. Oh, now you're really up to something. Threats of violence, threats of death. You mean business, huh? HUD referred the case to the U.S. Department of Justice for further litigation. But in February, the agency withdrew the case. No explanation. You know it's coming. Noted the Dallas Morning News. Housing advocates said the withdrawal could signal a rollback of civil rights enforcement at the agency under President Donald Trump and HUD Secretary Scott Turner, a Trump appointee who is from Texas. Ew. You don't know what I'm saying ill to. I'm just saying ew, okay? It just happened to be when the picture went up and I was describing what went down here. So here you have it. Remember, these laws have been on the books for some time. And there's been people over the course of our country's history since they've been on the books who've been prosecuted and wrongs have been righted. That's how I want to say it. But remember, just like the Constitution is only worth the paper it's written on if you're not going to enforce it, same with everything else. Okay, so it's illegal. HUD already ruled that something's going on here. You got a case. But if they suddenly decide, we're going to check me, boo, we're not going to do anything about it, well, then it's what I say. And the Black families need to go. We don't need to justify crime or anything else. We just want to talk about color. And it's the same old thing in this country. We're decades away from the civil rights movement. And yet the Blacks are still bringing down property values. I would think that I wouldn't want to live in a neighborhood, Black or white, where people wrote things on social media about killing me and shooting kids, or surreptitiously started recording me at just a meeting to talk about our next steps and what we agree with and don't agree with in this HOA. I would think that would bring down the property value. But then that's just me. Don't you think Karens bring down property value? I do. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're always peeking in things. They trespass often. I think that's fact. It's okay, I'll label it my opinion. I think Karens trespass often and they get the blood pressure of the entire neighborhood up. I think you bring down the property value, okay? And we have a case in point, don't we? This is a nasty one. Yeah, this is going to be real nasty, but on brand. It's on brand. We try to pick the poster kids. You know, there's offshoots. There's Karens who are in training. There's Karens who are OG vets. There's Karens who are more active than others, more outlandish than others. This one, I think, is right up there. Racist male Karen, truck instructor threatening another trucker. Because this is what we're going, whatever happened to when you would go by as a kid, if my parents drove by, we go, and then the trucker would, sound the horn, and it was fun. That's not what we're talking about here. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Oh, your ass! Film me, I don't give a You're holding every goddamn thing up!
Calm down. You see this guy move? He's walking or no? Or you blind?
He's
Blind.
already
Go choke yourself.
He was still
Bitch,
over here.
Go yourself, bitch.
Get out of my country!
You.
You want now? Did I train my damn student? You. Bitch.
You.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Get the going. I'm trying to train my goddamn student.
And now you're training others? And we've learned this is teaching others to do what? Become a Karen driver? This is an ugly one. You take that however you want to take it. Keep the picture up. I think you know what I mean. The behavior, though. The behavior is disgusting. You're threatening the typical trope about my country. Can you imagine if the Native American people, indigenous people would have said, get out of my country? Instead of sharing and helping almost to their extinction, their detriment, really. Helping people who showed up for a better life. Your country? The male Karen threatening another driver there, believing they are firmly in the know. By the way, if I'm one of the students this male Karen is claiming to be teaching, I would have been gone, okay? I don't need an instructor who's full of road rage and bias, racism, really, okay? When you start screaming, get out of my country, we know. We don't see the other driver, but we know what you're doing here, okay? Why don't you leave? And frankly, I think that, and I'm not a police state person, you know that, but I think that driving's a privilege, especially the class of license that this guy has when you're a truck driver, semi or something, teacher. You gotta have a certain class license. It's a privilege, not a right. And they might wanna look at this because I don't need to encounter this on the road. I already am scared with certain trucks on the road, and they're some of the safest drivers out there. You gotta pass through, folks. Why do some people sit right next to a semi? That's not, you're supposed to go through. Did you not learn anything in driving school? My point is, you're not gonna learn anything from this guy. A bum, a male Karen, typical, a poster child, another one. Beware, Bolo, if you see this guy out there. And that's your installment of Karen for today. We might have something that fits the bill after the break. This is Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Thanks, Doc, for letting us share this time together. We're right back.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that What we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think, is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
Welcome back to Indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed. Doc is away from the chair today, so I hope you don't mind that I'm, well, nobody can really fill Doc's shoes, okay? But I enjoy being here with you. Let's get to some of your comments. Very active bunch today. We love it. TYT members. Stephen Armstrong. Let me put my glasses on for this one. Sharon's skin is flawless. I don't know about that. I think, you know what? You got to learn to take compliment. Thank you for that. Because as you know, oftentimes on this show, I should put on a little makeup, but life just gets in the way. And I'm watching things or playing a game on my phone. And so I say, you know what? I think this audience is forgiving enough to take me as I am. And so I show up like this and you all don't mind. So thank you, Stephen Armstrong. Thank you. Lindsay and Miles, we love you, Sharon. I love you back. I really am a loving person. I can be critical of ugly, bad, ignorant behavior, and I don't really like those people. But I love most people. I think most people are good, don't you? I do. About the HOA who wanted to drive out black people, get the blacks out. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the racists. So that could be true. This is Providence Village, North Texas. Robert Clark with that comment. Swift saying last minute redlining. That's really what they're trying to do here. And until somebody steps in and says, don't do that anymore, they'll keep going, okay? We'll get to some more comments in just a little bit. Before the break, we brought you a male Karen, truck driver, would-be truck driving instructor who was a representative of a Karen. And I think the team probably did debate it behind the scenes. This could have been a double dose. We're not gonna put it under the label. You're not gonna hear you wanna call the police on me? You know, that little theme song that we all love. Which never gets old, by the way. But you can make your own conclusion. Could have been a double dose. Simone Biles, love her. Decorated gymnast ever. Slams Riley Gaines over her transphobic comments. Oh, Simone, a leader, on and off. 11-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles got into a social media scuffle with Riley Gaines, former NCAA swimmer who finished behind 3 cisgender competitors and tied for 5th place with swimmer Leah Thomas, a transgender woman who followed all rules to participate. Gaines has since lobbied against the inclusion of trans women in the women's division of sports, been a frequent guest on right-wing media, travels nationwide for panels advocating against transgender people. and campaign for anti-trans candidates for public office. So we'll get into more of the details, but I want to pause there because think about this. If you really care about an issue, and she doesn't have to agree with perhaps you or I, if she doesn't believe that this is appropriate for transgender women to compete against her, that is Riley Gaines' right. But the fact that she's made a career out of this, and I'm not opposed to advocates getting paid for their time, their efforts. People have to live. And if they feel strongly, they feel strongly. But when it turns into an anti-trans candidate that you are campaigning for, it turns into something different. It moves beyond a discussion, a disagreement. You see, because with discussions and disagreements, there's the ability, if you really are a passionate, integrity-filled person, to change your mind. I don't know everything. I want to know more. Maybe I'll change my position. But when you're locked in and this is your brand, you can't do that, can you? You can't. At least I don't really see it happen often. You need this to continue because you're making a living off of it. So let's give you more of the details here. Simone Biles versus Riley Gaines. I know who started it though, Simone, don't you worry. This war started when Riley Gaines posted a picture of a girls' softball team and called their star player, quote, a boy. Okay. Comments off, LOL, to be expected when your star player is a boy. She thinks she's really cute with the LOL. Again, if you're serious, if you're passionate about something, what's so funny, Riley? Simone Biles saw this and would reply to Gaines, writing, Riley Gaines, you're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race? Straight up sore loser. And when you're the most decorated Olympic champion of all time, Simone Biles, decorated gymnast of all time, you can call somebody a sore loser. She's earned it. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. So Simone said, you don't have to agree with me. I'm just telling you that there's other ways to do this, Riley. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them. One thing's for sure, no one in sports is safe with you around. I don't mind what Simone Biles said there. She's not saying you're wrong for your beliefs. She's saying, well, then let's find a solution here. You don't have to by calling someone a boy who does not wish to be called a boy and does not identify as a boy, you're being nasty. And that's name calling, as intended. So she would end her rant against Gaines with bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male. Okay. Gaines then would respond by posting this. All the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. Gaines wrote online per CBS News. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusive dream came true? 0. Nice. So Simone Biles went through things we'll never understand. Her and fellow gymnasts went through things we'll never understand, can't comprehend, and frankly don't want to, but we want to support them. Sexual abuse, trauma, nobody asked for that. And yet you want to go there. That's how you want to defend yourself, Riley Gaines? By calling out what's gotta be one of the most horrific periods in Simone Biles' existence. She and other fellow gymnasts had to endure this monster, and this is what you want to do to further your argument? It means this is ugly, and you may not have a strong argument for your behavior as you think you do. Simone Biles had to endure predator. Other girls have to endure predatory men. Riley, come on. Jamel Hill would reply to Gaines. Time to tag team this one. Simone Biles is a far better human being than you'll ever be. You are a trash person who can't stop terrorizing a group of people for your own gain. Weaponizing sexual abuse is disgusting and shows the lack of integrity, honor, and decency. I promise you will one day need the compassion you lack. I don't mind Simone or Jamel. And I don't mind the assist from Jamel. Not that Simone needed it, but it was warranted. After getting further blowback, Gaines would reply, to make my position on both topics very, very, very clear, I hope Larry Nassar spends the rest of his life rotting away and miserable in prison. Gymnastics were failed by a system that protected an abusive man at the expense of girls' safety. Men don't belong in women's sports. Female athletes continue to be failed by a system that protects abusive men at the expense of the girls' safety. I don't know what she just made clear there. There's lots of great male trainers who look after female athletes, okay? And they deserve their positions. So I don't know what she made clear. She's just walking around in circles, biting her own ass. Okay, now there. That's what she's doing. Gaines would continue to milk the attention. She likes this, folks. This is how she makes a living. Various posts, including a video where she measured her height and repost AI-generated images of Biles and appearances on Fox News. So now, and what are you saying? The most decorated female gymnast of all time is now a midget or something? What are you saying? That's the derogatory term she would use. I don't even understand what does this mean, Riley Gaines? What does this picture that you're posting here mean? You're too big for her? Intellectually, I would ask. Okay, so should we cue Sage Steele? You know she's around, lurking behind a bush somewhere. Here she is, coming to Riley Gaines' aid.
The brilliance of what really is, it's so sad, Laura, because she was America's sweetheart. She dropped out of the 2021 Olympics, mental health, and we all rallied around her. And then she came back and incredibly is now the most decorated gymnast in history. So we all loved her, and maybe some still do, of course. But to do this in such an angry way, a vile, attacking way, I think has shocked so many people. And the question is why. I texted Riley right away, and first I thought Simone's account must have been hacked. No, it was not, because as you said, she went back at her. But Riley said this came absolutely out of nowhere. And it is completely hypocritical, not only to what she has done for body positivity for women and girls, but also to her own post just a couple of years ago when she was on the floor mat and talking about how if she competed against men, she'd have no gold medals. So my question is why and what has changed? Or is this just the young woman who has always been this way, but has been hiding, but now that she's the GOAT and has 11 gold medals and 30 world championship medals, that now she can say what she wants? Or is someone paying her? Like, I don't know, but I do agree with Riley that she has fallen from grace in a way that I don't believe she'll recover.
Of course you agree with Riley. So Simone Biles is the ugly one. If Riley posts and calls someone a boy who does not identify as such, you don't even have to believe in that. If that's your choice, but you don't have to go out of your way to be hurtful. But of course, all that was ignored, okay? Sage, crack journalism there, crack commentary, of course. Get out of here with this. And attacking the mental health. Not everybody did support Simone Biles. There were some nasty, racist, vile things said about her when she had a case of the twisties. And then some other issues like, look, this is not easy being on top of the world here, fighting to get here all these years. Push comes to shove, and there I am. I'm winning everything, and people expect so much of me. You talk about low blows. Who's not going to recover? Who's getting paid to be this way? Who was always this person? Look in the mirror and repeat back to thee. Adding more fuel, former NASCAR driver Danica Patrick sided with Gaines, sharing that Biles has been red-pilled, being fed misinformation. This issue has a shelf life. I truly believe common sense will prevail, but until then, I'm grateful for people like Riley Gaines who are making sure no one gets away with it, Patrick said on Instagram, not to mention the fact that she actually lived it. Many men, women's sports, is the woke mind virus and or another issue that requires therapy. Either way, it is so irrational. No, Danica. No. So I didn't hear Simone Biles defend anything. I heard her say, stop being so ugly and nasty, uplift the community. And if you don't agree with trans athletes in women's sports, let's figure out a solution. How is that damaging, denigrating, downing someone else? Do you see what they're doing here? Simone Biles said, stop being ugly and name calling here. It's wrong. Sage, Danica, Riley said, oh, you're just protecting trans athletes. And you may very well believe one should protect them. But that's not what was going on here. You cannot agree with anyone but cis women being in women's sports, but you don't have to be ugly. That's what Simone Biles is saying. And yet you want to keep going round after round. Charlie Kirk would join the fray, posting, unlike you, Riley never quit when things got hard. A case of the twisty. You could literally die. You go up in the air. You don't know which way's up or down. Could the team find out how many Olympic gold medals Charlie Kirk and Riley Gaines earned? I'm just curious, and get back to me. They'll look that up. It's not going to take them long. Trust me. It's not going to take them long. Oh, they have the answer. None. And who cares? But you brought it up. Now you know about the twisties, Charlie Kirk? Okay. However, this poster pointed out Simone Biles took a break and then returned to win gold medals. She sure did. Clock your tea, didn't she? Riley Gaines lost to 4 other women, cis women, and then quit swimming forever. She literally quit when things got hard. Now, look, I don't even think we need to compare people's victories, triumphs, struggles. But since you want to go there, Charlie, another poster wrote this. Riley Gaines did not lose to a trans woman. She tied with a trans woman. Riley Gaines lost to 4 other cis women. 4 women beat out both Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines, which proves that 1, there was no unfair advantage, and 2, Riley Gaines is slow AF. Now, is that fair? I don't think. She was an athlete who earned a spot and had talent. Maybe still does. But let's not twist the facts here. Cis women beat you routinely. So why are you only focused on a trans competitor who you tied with? I don't know, ask her. Keith Olbermann would join the discussion next. You've lost, Riley. Lord, no, you should be familiar with the feeling by now. Keith Olbermann is a cantankerous, feisty thing, isn't he? And I don't mind it one bit. He's cantankerous, and I don't mind it. She started it knowing that this is what she would get, and she'd probably make money off of it and get appearances, and people would come to her events, and Danica on stage. So I don't mind Keith Olbermann. Keep on keeping on, waking up on the wrong side of the bed, Keith. It's needed. It's necessary. Earlier today, Biles would post this. I wanted to follow up from my last tweets. I've always believed competitive equity and inclusivity are both essential in sport. Current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often leads to frustration and heated exchanges. And it didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. I don't know how tall Simone Biles is, but she's a giant for that part of her statement. Remember, when you keep dialogue open and you have integrity, you have the ability to change your mind. You don't have to be perfect. She apologizes. These are sensitive, complicated issues. You see that? She didn't say Riley was wrong. She didn't say she was right for her beliefs. She just said, let's try to figure this out. I truly don't have the answers or solutions to, but I believe it starts with empathy and respect. You don't say. I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. My objection is to being singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful. Individual athletes, especially kids, should never be the focus of criticism of a flawed system they have no control over. I believe sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules supporting inclusion while maintaining fair competition. We all want a future for sport that is fair, inclusive, and respectful. Who could be against that? No matter what you believe about cis women, trans women in women's sports, she's saying, let's just figure it out so everybody can have that respect that they deserve. There's nothing wrong with that. She apologized for a little low blow. Okay. What's the problem here? Oh, I get it, because this division is financially beneficial to people like Riley Gaines. Let's make a whole living off of this fight. You don't really want it to end, do you? You don't really want it to end. You want this to go on forever because this is how you're getting paid. Then what would you argue about? Kind of like a certain administration who likes to put up these culture wars. Listen, all people matter. Trans, cis, all people matter. Okay? But also, if you do the math, you might say just one athlete that you don't agree with in this position, in this competition, is worth the fight. But scale and context matter. This is not going on all over the world. This is not in every community or every race. Do we need to figure it out? Yes, absolutely. But stop turning this into some kind of epidemic, okay? Epidemic, pandemic, whatever. Just stop. It's a lie. You're getting rich off of it and you are hurting people to do it. That's all, in my view. I shouldn't have the right to speak for an Olympic champion, a decorated champion like Simone, but I think that's what she was saying. I feel confident about that. We'll move on. Let's move on. Who's still going to Starbucks? If you are, you are. That's your choice. Starbucks workers hesitate to give aid during a medical emergency. Let's see what's behind it. Starbucks facing backlash after an employee allegedly told a Virginia woman to get in line to get ice water for her husband, who was visibly suffering a medical emergency. We've lost our way. This is indicative of how much we've lost our way. Kevin Key and his wife were in the car when he started exhibiting frightening symptoms from his stage 4 kidney failure. I happen to know a little something about that. We have details of what happened next. What occurred? Well, he just started sweating. He's like, I don't feel well. His wife, Melissa Key, told WWB-TV in Richmond. He started leaning over and then he started vomiting. She had seen it before, knew her husband needed ice water. Now, Sia Key noticed a Starbucks only a short distance away. She took off running, her husband trailing behind her. This is scary. I was frantic. I think I was crying at that point, Melissa Key said. She explained to a long line of customers that her husband was having a medical emergency and needed water. They were all sympathetic, said Melissa Key. Sure, they allowed her to cut the line right to the front, but that didn't carry over to the barista, she said. Who the hell could have a problem with this? I pointed back because you could see Kevin, and I was like, that's my husband right there. He's in stage 4 kidney failure. I just need water fast for him, she recounted. And the employee looked at me and was like, you need to get in line. And then I repeated what I said. I'm like, but my husband, he's in kidney failure. We just need ice water quickly. And he looked at me again and was like, you need to get in line. At this point, Kevin Key was struggling. We've lost our way. I could have possibly blacked out. It could have had a more dramatic impact on my body. My kidneys could have possibly just shut down, he said. Situation that should have taken like less than probably 10 seconds to get water turned into a nightmare instantly. What's it to you? Well, why can't you just give the ice water? What is with you? She had to give up, leave Starbucks. Melissa Key knew time was short. She ran across the street in the outdoor mall to the Capital One Cafe, where she said an employee acted promptly to get her husband a cup of ice water. She was like, no problem at all. I hope he feels better, she said. When I got to Kevin and gave him the water, he almost instantly felt better. What's in your wallet? What's in your wallet? So the Capital One Cafe had a human working there who said, hey, you got it. But Starbucks, which I'm going to just suggest they're not proud of this employee's behavior, but had a real jerk who could care less about fellow man. Get in line. Fool. In a statement to WWBT, Starbucks spokesman Sam Jeffrey said the company contacted the Keys to apologize. Okay. And we hope to welcome them back to a store of their choice to give them the Starbucks experience they should expect. You know, the Starbucks where you pay too much for very strong coffee. It's very strong. Or another flavored beverage. But it's an experience. You're not told to get in line when you're having a medical emergency. I think that's what they mean. Okay. Melissa Key said the Seattle-based company refused to take accountability, offering the couple a gift card to try and make amends. Starbucks had a decision that day, like I said before, to pick policy or humanity, and they chose policy, she said. That policy announced in January reversed the store's open door policy. People who enter Starbucks are now required to order something from the menu if they want to hang out or use the bathroom, according to the new rules posted online. You know what? We can make our own rule. I don't have to go there. Well, we can make rules too. If a customer communicates a request related to a restroom access or water due to a medical, health, or accessible issue, we are committed to providing appropriate accommodations. Why you even have to put that in writing is bizarre. It's bizarre. But Jeffrey said part of the problem was where Melissa Key asked for the water, in the pickup area. You are just as ignorant. I reverse everything I said about Starbucks. You're as ignorant as you want to be, and you apparently choose to stay ignorant. I'm having a medical emergency and believe someone could die. I'm going to say that. Because she was in the wrong section of the counter. This is for pickup only. The hell? You done lost your mind with your overpriced beverages. Wow. Where she asked for the water in the pickup area? Quote, that disrupts the workflow, the spokesman said. You're out of here. Yeah. Is anybody on Starbucks board? Is anyone listening to this? You're out of here. You're done. No one, you can't babysit my Yorkie and respond like that. It disrupts workflow. We got a medical emergency and you're putting on a clown show like this, even after the fact, you now know everything. Thank you, Indisputable, for gathering these stories that apparently happened in real life. I can't with y'all. And you want me to pay for the overpriced coffee, and I can't use the restroom? This is Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Thank you, Doc. Much needed program. Thank you. We're right back.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that What we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think, is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
Welcome back to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I am Sharon Reed, grateful to be sitting in today for Doc in another installment of, am I the only one that sees this? We have to give you this story. We're going to go to California. There's a school there under fire for including a racist photo in the yearbook. Everybody wants a yearbook, don't they? Unless you had a bad hair day or something. You want to remember these times, but not all times. Newspaper clipping from the 1940s that contained racist language referring to Black children was published in a California elementary school yearbook, sparking outrage in the school community. Montclair Elementary School, Oakland, California, recently printed and distributed its yearbooks for the 2024-25 school year. Okay, so far, what's the problem here? Well, I'll tell you. And one portion of that book contains local newspaper articles from years past that feature the school's events. A report from October 1940 was a feature about the school's annual carnival that year and the activities that children could participate in. Oh, carnivals. I love a good carnival. It's fun. You remember the thing where you drop the golf ball and if it landed in the little fish tank, probably wasn't very nice for the goldfish. You got to keep that fish. It's a carnival. Yay. But just a few paragraphs in, the article stated this. Why? Boy and Girl Scouts will have charge of booths and many attractions such as babies, darts, fish pond, airplane game, fortune telling. Do you see what's going on there, which was common? Remember my mother, dearly departed, telling me that it was a certain candy too, called babies. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to see here. There's something wrong with that. There's something to see here, and somebody should have seen it. According to the Jim Crow Museum, a game known as the African Dodger. Isn't that fun? This is ignorant. I don't care how long ago it was. Which was also called Hit the Baby, was commonplace at local fairs and carnivals throughout the late 19th century and into the 1940s. Several historical depictions show the game's setup. Black child or adult would stick their head through a curtain or large poster cutout while participants would throw eggs and baseballs at them. Parents were furious that the article was included in the Montclair yearbook. Isn't there an editor for stuff like this? I mean, as a young reporter, I would hand my story once I wrote it to my photographer. And I'd say, hey, John, can you read this? I just want to make sure it's all, I'm not saying anything ridiculous. Oh, okay, sure, Sharon. And another set of eyes. Babies? No one saw this? Hell, even the yearbook company, I would think, would call you up and say, there's something that says babies in here. Do you want us to keep it? I don't know. If you're that kind of community, whatever. Montclair PTA historian emailed parents confessing that she was the one who discovered the article. In my excitement, I made the critical error of only reading the first paragraph before including it. This reminded me of And I'm trying to think which is worse. Marjorie Taylor Greene said she didn't bother to read the bill and she doesn't agree with it, but she voted for it. This woman was so excited that I only read the first sentence. Okay. She was excited. She added that the 4 people in the volunteer yearbook team also failed to read the full article and catch the slur. Here's something you might want to do. Don't just have volunteers, because apparently you might need a paid position for this, okay? People who, maybe are more accountable. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. That and read the article. PTA historian said she's stepping down from her position. The fact that she has announced she is stepping down instead of being told you are out of here is another issue. Montclair Elementary Principal David Cloker sent an email to the school community apologizing, calling the article deeply hurtful and entirely unacceptable. He said stickers would be provided by the school to place over the article. You gonna give me my money back. PTA President Sloan Young said the school is offering refunds. Thank you, Sloan. To anyone who purchased a yearbook. PTA is also taking on the task of publishing a whole new set of yearbooks without the offensive article. A racial equity meeting was also held for parents who wanted to discuss the incident further and share their concerns. I don't understand much. I guess that let's give some credit. That's the right outcome. I want my money back. I want a new yearbook, and now I'm not going to put no stickers over it. Okay. I laugh to keep from crying, because here's the thing. You are over-explaining this innocent mistake. And let me go back and see, because I didn't hear. I didn't hear enough. Oh my goodness. And maybe it was there. Maybe the apologies just came, everywhere. But I don't see that. You're hurting kids. And most of them look like me, who have feelings and demand more awareness and respect. Do I believe this was included on purpose? No, I don't. But do I believe that if you had more awareness and less privilege, that when you pull something out of the 1940s, you remember that wasn't a time that America was great? Okay, despite the current slogan. You start talking about making something great again, and you harken back to yesteryear, what it means for people who look like me. You might want to just keep an eye out for that. That's really all I'm saying. Hey, we want to thank you all. Sorry I didn't get to more of your comments, because it's always fun when you all are kind of seeing and saying together, weighing in. So thank you for that. And thank you, Doc, for giving me the privilege of sitting in your chair for today. We appreciate you, and we hope you'll join us again.